Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio and the Spirit, the Society of Virginia, here with you in one more spiritual talks. Yes, it's inspirational talks, however we name it. It's the opportunity that we have not only to study more about Spiritism, but to be inspired, to be consoled, to dive deeply into the sea of positive feelings and thinking, because after all, Spiritism is the Christ consciousness that comes back again. It's coming back, the Christ that comes back to tell us the good news and the reasons why we're experiencing the good news. And we have here with us Daisy and Luciana, right?
Right.
While Paloma and Carol are in the other channel of Kardec Radio YouTube and the Spirit Center Virginia's Facebook, talking with the children. It's about the 13 virtues that Benjamin Franklin outlined to help our children boost the best in them. And today we are honored to have a special guest, Dr. Andrei Moreira. But before we introduce you to him, we're going to begin this conversation, this moment of true therapy for our souls with an inspirational message and a prayer. Right, Daisy? You selected a message that is very joyful, right?
Yes, that's right, Vanessa. So we're reading a message tonight that is in the Spiritus magazine, issue number 46. And the title is Peace and Light. It's a message by the Spirit Mei, psychographed by Chico Xavier, and is in the book that is not yet in English. It's titled Deus Aguarda, but you can read this message in English in the Spirits magazine. You might hear the earth is undergoing difficult days, and you put what you know into check. The news report relates the growing antagonism among peoples. Disagreements dominate the social classes in need of tact and understanding on the part of leaderships, so that they do not engage in destructive conflicts. Passionate dramas make the headlines, traumatizing thousands of people. Impulsive family separations, robberies, mass complaints, disturbances of opinion, accidents that are the concern of community life. Almost everywhere in the world, the calamities that emerge from nature. All these somber elements, added to the individual problems, create the psychological squandering with which millions of individuals go to either their work or to the streets, establishing the atmosphere of tension that deforms the personality and consumes a great reserve of strength. It is within this framework that the laws of the Lord have engaged us to serve in the world of today. Many people unconsciously are prone to engage in petty fights, expressing wrath and sourness into strange forms of aggression. Lean on peace and move forward. Whatever happens, do your best, bless, and let go. Quiet yourself and help. Whenever you are, spread the beneficence of good words and offer the blessings of your smile, of peace and fraternity. All negative events are byproducts of the spirit of darkness. In the whirlwind of shadows, heaven does not ask us to be stars. It is enough for each one of us to commit themselves to lighting up a ray of light in the name of God.
All right, dear friends. So as you can see, you can find this message in the issue 46 of the Spiritist magazine, message titled Peace and Light. All right, let us pray together, because we know that the good spirits are always with us when we are doing something good. Of course, they are always with us because they want to help us. But when we do something good, ooh la la, it comes from heaven for sure. Let me just turn on the music so we can pray together. Let us feel the soothing presence of the good spirits with us. Our guardian angels, the protecting spirits, the supreme love of God embracing us. Dear Mother, Father God, in a world that needs you more than anything else, we unite ourselves tonight to delve deeply within ourselves and find the many reasons why we love you, and thus the need to love ourselves. Naturally, we'll be able to love others. May everyone who is here connected form with us a current of healing light that envelops our homes, our neighbors, and allow this light to travel throughout the streets of our cities, of our states, especially the city of Washington, D.C., which is near us, the White House, at this critical moment on earth. And from the United States of America, bridges of friendship connecting to all nations. Enveloping our planet in renewed consciousness and illumination. Feeling this calmness and peace within, we ask for your guidance, your protection, as you grant us the permission to start this conversation with Dr. Moreira about the importance of self-love. And so be it. It feels wonderful already, and it's gonna get even more wonderful because we are here with Andrei Moreira. Yay! We're so happy you're here. We can't help it. How are you?
I'm good, dear friends. I'm very happy to be here with you. Thanks so much for this invitation.
Thank you, Andrei. We have to share with people. You work at so many fronts, but we want to summarize to everybody. He's a spiritist, he's a physician, a homeopathic doctor. He's also a therapist that works in the systemic family constellation.
Yeah,
He gives workshops, and he's also one of the people who have been helping Wagner Moura with the projects regarding Fraternity Without Borders, which is a nonprofit organization that has been helping many, many, not only in Africa, in Brazil, in other countries, but helping people find dignity of living, including educational resources as well, not only material resources from home to food and shelter, but also regarding medical care led by Dr. Moreira's team and um, educational, psychological resources as well, right, Andrei?
yeah, that's it. The
And the
main
website, yeah.
the main goal of this nonprofit organization is to live fraternity in many senses as much as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
we not only give food for those who are in need, but we also want to connect our hearts into a very particularly feeling of family. So that's the main purpose of the Fraternity Without Borders. So we are thousands of people that got together in order to dedicate our lives, our efforts to spread this um, fraternity message.
Mm-hmm. And for those who want to know more about it, just want to show them the website. I want to share the image that I have here. Sorry. Let me share the correct one. I just got it open. Fraternitywithoutborders.org.
Yeah,
If you guys go to the website, you'll be able to see what it is, the projects in Madagascar, Mozambique, about microcephaly in Brazil, and many others, and how we can help, the events, so you can contact them, donate. There are many projects, and you can get to know more about the beauty of this around the world. So, right now, we want to say that, Andrei, we would like to have a conversation with you. Is that okay? Like in the conversation style?
yeah,
Yeah,
very good.
about self love.
Yeah, okay.
So, first and foremost, let's contextualize. Right now, we're experiencing this pandemic, right?
Yeah,
And during the pandemic, many people, some are seeing the beauty of being home, of having time with family, but many others are having a hard time. And even we have reports of teenagers who are, using more drugs than before. And even the suicide rates in the United States, according to the CDC, increased in adolescents during the pandemic. And many people who are, in a way that we sometimes don't understand, even more depressed than before. How would you like to talk about the behind the scenes of it? What would be the hypothesis of it?
yeah, we have so many different scenarios behind this pandemic. Many people are increasing time with family and with themselves, healing uh, very deep and old wounds. But many people also are getting wounded by this situation and increasing anxiety, depression, and the mental health are getting really, really bad. So the point is that we have been challenged by this situation as society and as persons, as families, and we have to deal with this invitation of life. Because I see this pandemic, Vanessa, as an invitation for not only one person, but for the whole group that we are in the world as family, as universal family. So, and this invitation is for us to take care of ourselves, for take care of our group, for take care of our families, and to get to know that we are part of a big society, and a very particular behavior makes difference in the other people lives and situation at all. So when we have a virus that invite us to get home, to stay with ourselves, to deal with ourselves, to understand the other as something that we have to avoid, and to understand ourselves that as someone that can spread something difficult for others. So we need to start to think about our action in society as a group, and how we are connected. It's the same kind of thought that we have to have to deal with the ecological teams, so economic teams, and many other subjects that we face in our society. So one very important thing that pandemic invite us to live and to understand is that we have to strengthen our connection with our family, starting by uh, taking notice and attention with those that are behind us, that are beside, that are in front of us in our homes, starting by the children, starting by the adolescents, starting by those that are in most need, as the elder people that are really affected by this pandemic most of all. And when we start to be closed in our homes, and we have to face the situations that are there. So many parents told us, "Oh, now I'm having time with my kids, so I'm having time with my family, and so I know what they are facing. Now the difficulties are coming to the surface. Now I can feel what they are living. I was not aware about what they were living, so now I can understand what they are feeling or thinking about life and so on." And naturally, this is for those that are paying attention on their children and on the situation that are happening inside their homes. But for those that are not aware of what is going on inside the, the children's place, inside the particular universe of kids. So this can be really hard to face. This can be really hard for those people because they can develop more anxiety, more depression, more anxious, and so on. So I think this is an invitation for us to pay attention, to take care, and to develop love. But it's really hard to do it.
Yes. And on the other hand, there are many people who experienced some form of loss, and we say loss, quote unquote, because there is no actual loss, but loved ones who discarnated, whether through the coronavirus or people who really discarnated throughout other processes during this pandemic. What would you recommend to them regarding, the dealing of this grieving process, the mourning of loved ones, at a time in which we can no longer distract ourselves going out and traveling, etc. So we really need to face this loss, how to deal with it.
Yeah. In a spiritism perspective, we know that there is no death. Death is just a passage, it's just a specific time of life. And life is something that has begun before the process of incarnation and do not end at the very time of discarnation. So life is a continuous, and the spirit is immortal. That means that we live and so many lives, and we are connected to those who we love through our affective chains of affection, and this is not destroyed by death. So what I have to say for those who are mourning their beloved ones is that those that are deaf are still alive. They can hear you, they can feel you, they can be touched by your feelings, by your thoughts, by what you are living. So we used to say that just to say goodbye to someone is not to get empty of those that we love. To say goodbye to someone is to fill our heart by the very presence of those that we love. So when they go through the channel of death to the spiritual world, we continue with them inside our hearts. And we are connected to the immortality of life. We will be together again. We will be in touch all the time, and we will be connected through our feelings. But while we live, while we continue in this material world, we need to feel their presence inside our heart. There are some people that extend the time of mourning more than what is called natural to the psychological cycles of life. And when the mourns goes too long, that means that we are in a state of rebellion in our heart. That means no acceptation of life. When we cry too much for someone, it's not a testimony of love. It's an accusation to life. It's something that is telling to the universe, I do not accept what has happened to me. It's not fair. I cannot integrate this emotional process or experience into my heart, and I cannot accept and continue to live without this beloved one. So this is a manifestation of rebellion. The consequence of this is depression. In a Medical Spiritist Association of Minas Gerais, one day a spirit told us that behind many episodes of depression, there's a state of rebellion in the soul, telling and an unconscious speech that tells, yes, I do not have the life I want, I do not accept the life I have. That means, as life do not give me what I want, I cannot accept, I cannot live with what life has given to me. But we know as a spiritist persons that we have faced in our life, and we are facing exactly the opportunities and the experience that we need in order to progress, in order to develop the virtues that are inside of us, in order to become more individuals, not individuals as person disconnected by others, but individuals as identities, as someone that are integrated with yourself and connected to others, but with a sense of identity. So all the process that we live in our life are opportunities to grow, to develop, to learn, to become better, to evolve. And when we accept that, we can learn from every opportunity. So I know that is hard. I do not want to lose those that I love. For sure, if God give me an opportunity, I would say, no, not now, please. Give me some more time with those people because I do love them and I want to continue with them. But when something happens, life is giving us an invitation to accept, to integrate the emotions, the feelings that are behind that experience, and to progress. So morning is the time to integrate the emotional experience. And when this extends too much, there's something happen inside of us. So we need to think about this, because no acceptation of life in every sense is the background of many mental diseases, and also physical diseases, and the most important is the background of the suffering that we face in our daily lives when we interpret lives as something hard, difficult, and heavy. And no, if we are inspired by gospel, if you understand the spiritual perspective of life, if we understand ourselves as an immortal spirit, we can integrate the experience to our deep soul, and use everything to progress, use everything to go on. I think that is the a message that I would like to say to those that are mourning their beloved ones right now. In family constellation, we used to say, get fulfilled by those that you love. Stay with them in your heart. Is a testimony of love when we say to someone, I will not continue to cry for you. I will live with you in my heart. I will stay with you alive in me. And as long as I live, you will live with me. My happiness will be your happiness. My joy will be your joy. My works of love will be your works of love, because everything that I will do with you and in honor to you. So that is a good message to live and to spread.
How beautiful. How somewhat there's an echo, right? There's an echo here. Yeah. All right. So let me just make sure all the mics are off. Okay. So as you said about accepting life, is it possible for us to love ourselves without accepting life?
No, it's not possible. It's not possible to love ourselves without accepting ourselves, without accepting that we are light and shadow, that we are imperfect and common persons, without accepting that we are spirits in a process of evolution. Self love is an experience of um, integrating all our parts together in our heart. You know, I remember now a Brazilian writer. He says that we are not one only person. We are like I don't know how to say in English. It's in Portuguese it's albergue.
Oh,
Albergue. It's like
like like a hostel?
yeah, it's like a hostel exactly. And so he says we are not one only person. We are a hostel. There are so many us inside of us, and each time one of us come to the words the words
You can say it in, yeah.
uh, janela, gente.
What is it?
Window.
Windows? Windows?
Yeah, windows.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know what? I have prepared myself to speak in Portuguese, and now I'm struggling to speak in English.
yeah. Why not? You're doing great.
So I'm very sorry because you deserve a better English, but
Oh,
in my self love, I know that's the best that I can now. So we
great.
continue. So he says that we are not an only person. We are a hostel, and there's so many us inside of us, and each time one come to the window. So this is a very good image, because inside of ourselves there is someone that is very that criticize us a lot, There's one that is perfectionist. There's one that's very loving one that cares about everything and everyone. There's someone that it's very intellectual. There's someone that's very emotional. These are parts of ourselves, and they live in this hostel that we call us. And what is very important is which phase of this is interacting with others through our window of identity, through our window of personality. All of them are, but one of them stay more time in the window and tell the others what is happening outside. So what is self-love? Self-love is to get to know all of these um, people that live inside of this hostel, to get in contact with them, to get affectionate by them and with them, and to allow them to express what they have, to integrate this. Self-love is a process that guides us to integrate all the parts of ourselves through a chain of acceptance, tenderness, humbleness, and many virtues that can guide this process and allow the best of us to come to the surface. So, Spiritism consider that self-knowledge is the path through self-love. As much as we know ourselves, we are more able to love ourselves. The more we get in contact with our emotion, the more we change the emotional process inside of us. When we do not get in contact, things get crystallized inside of us and becomes emotional wounds, traumas, and so on, and stay there like that and guide the process of living if you do not contact with them. They come, they become the controller of our life, and with some kind of autonomy, emotional autonomy, because it becomes a complex that uh, vibrates all the time, that nucleus that are crystallized over there. So self-love is to get in contact with what live inside of this hostel, to clean all the small parts, to invite, for example, a host, someone that is there to change place, to allow others to be there, to to be changed by this interaction. So I'm trying to use a metaphor to make more comprehensible this process of integration, emotion, and experience inside of ourselves. I think that this is self-love. Self-love is this process of going deep in contact with ourselves and to integrate everything.
Now, there, when the Christ of the earth mentioned that we should love God above all things and others as ourselves, we get to hypothesize that to love ourselves, we need to love God first. Is it possible at all to love ourselves without finding the love for God?
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible because the image of God that we have is an image of a God that it's full of human emotions and manifestation. And some people do not get identified with this kind of God. That does not mean that they are not identified with love. And the very identity of God, the very presence of God is the love. John the Apostle said that those who do not love do not know God, because God is love. And naturally, we understand that those who love knows God because God is love. So there are many people that do not accept the idea of this God that are presented by the church, but can be very ethical in life and have the presence of love, humanism, and so on in life. So I understand that what Jesus said to us is an invitation to get in contact with God in our inner presence of God. That means that we are divine creation, and God, there's a God inside of us, there's a God around us, there are God above all. So God, it's something that we cannot restrain, that we cannot keep in any box, because it's something that's a very it's very it's bigger than our understand, you know. So what I understand of this invitation is when we learn how to love the divine presence of God inside our heart, we learn also how to love the human being that we face in front of us, because there's no difference of this human being that are in front of us, and that has also the divine presence inside of him, and myself, that I understand I have the divine presence inside of me. This is the feeling of family, of brotherhood, of fraternity that we think that we have to spread and to develop. But for those who are religious, we can understand that there's a path through God, through the sacred and um, there's a path straight to God through the prayer, through our spiritual experience. And when we learn how to love God, we learn also how to love the human being. And this is something very important. If someone loves God and do not love the human being that are in front of him, there is a problem. There's a very big problem. So God is just for these people. God is just an idea.
Yeah.
It's just a belief, but it's not a feeling. It's not a connection. It's not a reality inside of the heart. So we need to understand that the cross of Jesus, it's a metaphor of life. It's an horizontal and a vertical path that get together in order to teach us the paths of life through God, through ourselves, through human being, and everything integrate into a very big circle of evolution and spiritual experience.
It's very interesting. And, you know, we find that, when people have psychopathologies, it's much harder for them to heal this love within. So, for people who have addictions, people who are already immersed in other states of mental illnesses in general, to help them rescue this sense of self-love, what would be the first steps?
The first step is to get touched by a human heart. That is very important, Vanessa. Those who are sick, being mentally or physically sick, they sometimes are not able to get in connection with God. When the pain is so deep and they do not have a spiritual path already built, some of them can have really a hard time to get in contact with God. Some of them face guilties, remorse, and many other emotional experiences that sometimes do not allow them in front of themselves to be in contact with God or someone higher than them. So What changed that? When a human heart, full of imperfection, when a common and imperfect person looks to their heart and says, I'm the same as you. You are the same as me. I can welcome you in my heart. I can give you the experience of love. I can let you experience that you worth it, that you is someone loved by God, that you are someone loved by life. But I do not tell this to you by my beliefs or by my talk. I do that by my acts. So I love you and you can feel loved. So this is the very important experience for those who are not able to get in contact directly with God, to experience God through a human connection of love. And that's what Jesus invited us to do. That's what he did to humanity, because he faced so many people with deep guilties, deep sense of nothing not worth in it in life, and he looked to their hearts, to their eyes, and said, I can see you, I can feel you. And when they felt seen, they got to know God by those eyes, by those feeling of love. I remember Mary of Magdalene experience, as the spirits tell us that when she came to Simon's house to get to know Jesus, she was filled by a feeling of guilty, of being someone that had always hiding in the society and avoided by others because she was considered a hooker. Hooker, yeah.
Yeah,
How
a
is
prostitute. Yeah.
it? Yeah, she was considered someone that at that moment, at that specific time, was not considered as someone valuable. And when she faced Jesus, Jesus looked to her, and at that very moment, she understood she was seen by someone, not someone that desire, full of desire, but someone that could offer her an experience of a different love. And Jesus said to her, "Woman, the world loves you because desires you. I just love you."
Mm.
And you can see the sensibility of Jesus to let someone feel God. At that very moment, he looked to her and said, "Woman, you are thirsty of love, but the hill that you are looking for is contaminated."
Mm.
At that moment, he understood that what she looked for was love. And he guided her to a path with the sacred water of life, where she can have her thirsty really fulfilled by a water that can give the meaning and purpose in life. So through that experience of love, she felt God, and she understood that she worth it, and that she was seen, and that she could love herself as she was, and also change her life, her life the way that new message was inviting her to do it. So that's what we experience when someone comes and see us and understand us and look to us and heal our emotional wants by saying, I'm the same as you, the same human, the same life, the same imperfection, and I see you. This is dignity.
Wow.
Wow.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
So now I think there are many people asking questions, and I'm going to open for Daisy and Luciana to add a question or two, thinking of the people who are watching us and may have questions regarding this very topic of self-love and how we can actually, refine this movement within ourselves, right, Daisy?
Yes, thank you so much, Andrei. This is so empowering, right? To be able to really work within ourselves. And as you're describing this, and for all of us, right, that are working in our, self-love, how can we boost our self-love, especially now in the time of pandemic? Like, do you have good tips for us, especially as we're talking about the relationship with God? How can we really empower us to, even though the world is facing such a big calamity and we feel for those who are losing their lives or who are sick, but how we don't let ourselves be contaminated, not the virus, not the through the physical coronavirus, right? But with this contaminated with this negativity and in the in the spiritual virus, which is, I think, much harder, right, to get through. So, do you have any recommendations for all of us in this during this time?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important ability that we have to develop is the one that make us able to adapt ourselves to reality. So it's an expression of self-love when we face reality and we ask ourselves, how can I deal with the reality as it is presented now?
Mhm.
If I cannot have the situation I wish, if something is against my desires, is against my plans, how can I adapt myself in order to make profit of this very moment and to grow and to build what I want in my life? So that means that in every time facing difficulties, as we are facing now with this pandemic, we have to look to ourselves in, with acceptation and activate our ability to make changes in our environment. That means around us. So, how I did that in this pandemic? When when I had all my plans for this year and the next changed. For example, for this pandemic, I quickly start to think what life is inviting me to do. First of all, I'm a physician, so I have to give help for those who are in need. That's true. But most of all, for me as a person, what can I learn from this situation? So I start to look to my family, the family I was already connected to. And when I look to my mother, when I look to my father that live in the same city as me, I realized that even having a small cottage for many years, we did not go to for 7 years.
Wow.
So I realized that we are not taking care of what we have. And then we start to go in there and to start to live in family during our weekends for when I was not working, and that increased our family experience. It was not something that I planned for this year. It was not something that I even think that I needed. But when I got in contact with the reality and start asking me what this reality can teach me or what is the opportunity that is hiding behind the scenes. So I quickly find something very important to my soul, and not only something very important, very essential, because I already had many important things in my life, but the essential things are
Thanks.
who really um, nurture us in our souls. And this time with my family, for me, is something that is nurturing me a lot and allowing many good things to come. So I think when we develop this ability to accept in reality and understand that acceptance is not to be passive resignated, but active resignated, so we can do a lot with reality. That means I accept the reality, but I'm not passive in front of reality. I make change. I make movement. I start building something that I want, so I can make change in this universe. So I think that is something that I would suggest people to do instead of complaining about what we lost, what is our difficult, what is our frontiers. So we start looking what I have as opportunity inside of my borders, inside of this uh, space that I occupy in this moment, in my family, in my body, in my relationships, in my reality, as a spiritual person, as a whole person. So there's a lot. I think that in every crisis, there are so many opportunities um, to learn, to grow, and I would suggest everyone to think about it.
Thank you so much, Andrei. Now, Luciana, we all have questions, right, about self-love, as Daisy said, how to boost it, how to go to another level. And what would you like to ask, Luciana, in that regard?
First of all, thank you for all the tips and information. And one thing that it was like always in the mind is like asking about books in which where we can be going and get more information, because we listen a lot about self-love, and as the spiritism always tells us, right, we need to have the knowledge and then we have to put in action. What are books that we can be like coming back and do this inner journey and help ourselves to guide to really feel that we are going this right direction of self-love? And like, of course, it's good to have a therapist or someone to help us, but like, what are the books, especially in spiritism, that we could be taking this knowledge and bringing closer to us in case we have any doubts throughout the pathways? We can go and go back to the book and help
Yeah.
us out.
First of all, without doubt, I would suggest Allan Kardec's books for those who do not know Spiritism to get to know this idea of immortality and this concept of reincarnation and ourself as divine creation. I think that there's not something so deeply um, changing as the idea, as the concept of being a divine creation and being unconditionally loved by God. So the gospel and interpreted by Spiritist proposals give us this idea very clearly. And I would suggest people to get to know the books psychographed, channeled by Chico Xavier, that I think is very fair, and also those psychographed by Divaldo Franco, by the spirit Joana of Angelis, and she gives us a psychological idea of life and of self-love, and I think that you have these books translated to English, and so people can nurture their souls through this very important source of spiritual knowledge.
All right. Of course, we could stay here for much more to learn more deeply, but we know, Andrei, that you have this book, Self Love, already in English, right?
Do I? No,
No, not yet.
not yet.
But I saw somebody in England talking about it, so maybe
Yeah,
I'm.
it's not yet translated. It's not yet finished. Unfortunately, yeah, well, I have some of my books in English, and you have worked a lot for this. For example, Pills of Hope, Pills of
Trust.
Trust. It was done by your group, and I'm very, very grateful for to you for it. But self love, not yet. And I
Yeah,
hope one day we will have it.
yeah. One thing we want to share two comments here. The book Peels of Trust became so popular at Cardiac Radio, also because Nora Brazil, who is an American teacher who lives in Texas, and she became a spiritist. She has been doing our Thursday programs on it, and she even plays. She reads the message, talks about it. It's a beautiful program,
Yeah,
and based on the book that you psychographed, Pills of Trust by Dr. Diaz da Cruz.
I'm very grateful to it. And
Yeah,
also, Susanna Simões used to give some comments about this book recently, and it's also spreading this message. So that we have many people working on it, and I'm very grateful to you. Like,
yeah, and of course, you know, the reasons why we were not able to help more yet is because we are working
so
and
many
it's still
words.
happening with the translation, especially the books by Chico Xavier, especially the book Boa Nova. We are finalizing the revision that came back from the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, hoping that it's going to be published sometime before the end of the year. But we hope we can get our hands on it. And
Yeah,
Self Love, that book is so fantastic in Portuguese that you know people deserve an opportunity. Plus the book Reconciliation that you wrote as well.
yeah,
I know it's not yet in English, but that book is phenomenal. It's so deep, can
yeah,
be so uplifting, and as Daisy said, very empowering,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we want to thank you, Andrei Moreira, for being here with us today, for making, you know, it doesn't sound like any effort because for us, it just sounds
Yeah.
so natural.
But God knows. God knows. I was invited to a speech about self love. I was not aware that it was a test of self love.
Next time I'll write in English. So we already know. Like,
Yes, please do it.
I know it's because recently, because of the pandemic, we have been working so much harder that we're kind of splittered here and there, doing so many things, right? But
Yeah,
we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at Cardiac Radio and the Spirit Side of Virginia and the group in DC. And by the way, today, October 9th, when this is streaming, we're celebrating 4 years of the Spiritist Society of Washington, D.C.
great.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
we need it in DC. And pretty soon we're going to release to people the new logo of the group that is coming up. It's so gorgeous. And it's a way for us to bring this message to the capital of the United States of America that needs it so much, right? I would like to give you the final comments before we do the spiritual passes and prayer, Andre.
Yeah. So I would like to thank you, to thank God for this opportunity, and to reinforce the message of self love that Jesus invited us to love God above all, and to live and to love our brother as a brother, as a family. So if we love God, we need to learn to love those who are behind us as manifestations of God. That's the very testimony that we have in life, that we understand Jesus' message, that we integrate the gospel message into our hearts. So if you live brotherhood, if you live fraternity, we can show God that His presence of love is becoming more and more integrated into ourselves and into our life. So that's what I want to stop telling you, because this is, I think, the core of the Jesus message.
Thank you so much. So, friends, here we have it, a lot of nourishment for our souls and opportunities to rethink about many myths inside of us. Sometimes we're stuck because we're cultivating stories that really don't exist. We need to delve within and double check and give ourselves an opportunity to align our hearts, our minds with God. Right now, we're going to invite our dear Luciana to lead us into this moment of the spiritual passes and the final prayer.
So, dear friends, as we feel this love that it was just shared with us, the divine love, let us close our eyes, feel ourselves immersed in God's love, breathing in and out. We feel the divine love touching our spiritual body, applying the remedies, the energies, everything that we need in order to nourishing our souls and have our physical body absorbing this healing treatment of tonight. We feel so much love in the air, in the presence of these doctors and nurses that lovingly came today to apply treatments of love in everyone connected with this divine love. As we open our hearts, we feel the warmth energies that is reaching our physical body. We feel this great connection with the divine love, and we feel divine as we are part of God, part of the creation. And as we expand this love throughout this treatment, we are able to visualize how we can co-create this love with all our brothers and sisters, visualizing ourselves helping the Creator and loving one another. We feel elevated and ready to serve wherever we are in need. And as we continue vibrating in this love of God, in gratitude, we pray so that we can put in practice all the teachings of tonight. May we all feel this nourishing deep inside and make it this flame of love wanted to act and help all of those that come across to us in this reincarnation. We pray for all brothers and sisters in greater need, especially those that are depressed, that are missing this self-love in their lives. May they feel the loving embrace of our Master Jesus, and may they be able to change the goals of their reincarnation. Dear Mother, dear Father God, dear mentors, thank you so much for bringing all this love to us tonight, bringing loving friends, loving instructions for us to continue progressing in this reincarnation. Thank you for all these blessings, all the daily opportunities that are presenting to us. And with the permission of the good spirits, mentors of Kardec Radio, Spirit Society of Virginia, we would like to close this healing and loving treatment of tonight. And so be it.
It feels so good. So many blessings. Thank you, Luciana. Thank you, Daisy. And thank you a million, Andrei Moreira, for being here with us. Thank you. Thank you. And a big hug to everybody who is watching us. If you have questions, don't worry. We will find a way to address them. Okay? Stay tuned at Kardec Radio because here we're always nourishing our souls. Thank you, friends.